Welcome everybody. It's Dawn's Advanced Monday class. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon and today we're doing classical music. We are doing the Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy and this is going to be fun. And I hope you all enjoy it and you can keep it as easy as you want or we can make it as hard as you want. Well, what do we know about this? This came from the Nutcracker Suite all the way back in 1892. That's a long time ago. It was a two-act ballet with a score by Mr. Tchaikovsky, Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky. Oh yes, and although the original was not a success, wow, how can this not ever be a success? The 20-minute suite that Tchaikovsky extracted from the ballet was. So originally the two-act ballet didn't go over very well. The complete Nutcracker has enjoyed popularity since the late 1960s and is now performed by countless ballet companies. There's a long time between 1892 and 1960. Wow. All right, the score has also been used in several film adaptations. Among other things, the score is noted, I can't read my own writing, for its use of the celesta. What's a celeste? A celesta. It's an instrument that the composer had already used in a lesser-known symphonic ballad called The Voyevoda. Okay, so if you want to look him up and see what the celesta does. The celesta was an instrument that had keys like a piano. Okay, only instead of strings like a piano, the hammers would hit little metal tubes inside. And so that it made the sound. That's what makes this really pretty bell sound. And so that's what we're going to use for sounds today is the celesta. Now where do you find that? You have to go into your more or into your category presets and you go under the category of bells. And I think it's number 3 that has the Celeste bells. And we're also going to use the pizzicato bells, which is another number in your bells. And I set them up in presets so that I could just use my foot and go one after the other. And what background am I using? I'm using the Jingle Jangles background. Remember, we always want to start left to right, so we start with the rhythm, Jingle Jangles at 115, minus the orchestra plus. Take that off so you don't have so much stuff going on. Then you go to category bells, number 3, and we're going to change the bottom. The bottom already has a sax and a pan flute. Okay, but we are also going to change one of your sounds. And those of you that have inspires, rialtos, marquis, grand marquis, and arias, it's a lot easier to find everything because you don't have to look for blinky and solid lights. You just find the one that's not being used, and it's an orchestral sound, hopefully. And you put it in the lower right, and you'd make it a bassoon, because that is the sound that we're going to use on the bottom keyboard. If you want to combine it with the sax and the pan flute that are already there from the solo section, that's okay. But I lowered the volume on them just a hair so it balanced a little bit better. So what you're looking for again is to change one of your orchestrals to bassoon and put it in the lower right. And if you're unsure how to do it in the A organs, come see me in the store or go find your PA at your closest store and we'll help you to get that there. It's so easy though in the marquee and the grand marquee and the inspire. It's so easy because all you do is go to sound and you find the one that's not being used, tell it to go to your lower right and turn it into a bassoon and there you are. Pretty easy. Okay, what if you don't have one of these big organs that has all that stuff? What if you don't have Jingle Jangles? Well, a second option would be to go to your toys. Your toys, that's a background. Where is it? I don't know. Let's find out. think it's under, is it under March? Yes, it's under March, and it's called Poise. And I'm at 115 as far as the tempo. So your toys sounds like this. And that'll work as well. But my favorite was the Jingle Jangles, but take your Orchestra Plus off. Well, what happens if you don't have either one of those? What are you supposed to do? Well, how about an easy 4? So this would work for easy 10s and the like. Try your standard pianist. You want to make sure you add the drums, and then you also want to put some strings in your lower ensemble so it fills it out with a little more of orchestra sounds. Your standard pianist, add your drums, and then go to your lower ensemble and put in strings. And then what do you want to do on the top? Your crystal bells works very well. So you want to find in the crystal bells. You can also add, if you wish, if you don't like it being so tinkly, the bells, you might want to add the 16-foot strings from your organ button. And then in your lower, you can put in your breathy tenor sax or an oboe. Both of those sounds would work in lieu of the bassoon. Okay, so you don't just have to do it on a big organ. You can do it on a little organ too. And then I'm using a duet. No, I'm using octave AOC. I'm using the full schmagier. So I'm using as the harmony octave AOC. And that just gives you lots of them. All right, I've also written out the introduction. So I'll have Robert put this up on Patreon so you can get it. I'm also adding lots of chords. For those of you that have the version that starts with a D minor and D minor goes for 2 complete lines, we're going to add lots of chords. Why? So it sounds a little better. Now, if you don't want to play all the extra chords, guess what? You don't have to. But I'm going to put them in for you to make this a little harder. I'm also going to add extra notes on the lower keyboard, hence the bassoon. Okay, so we got to have that sound down there. I'm just going to play it, and then we'll go through all the changes that I did.
Dawn?
Right. Yes?
What was the preset you were using in Jingle Jangle?
I'm using category preset from the bells, and I'm using number 3, which is the Celesta bells.
Okay, thank you.
Good question. And then I also set my next preset on the foot switch so that all I have to do is kick my foot switch and it'll go over. And that makes it a lot easier because your hands are going to be busy on this one. All right, here we go. Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy. Okay, yeah, it sounds cool, doesn't it? Yeah, and that's
Very
because
cool.
it was the correct sound. If you can get the correct sound, the Celeste bells, that's what really makes this work. Whether you play all the extra chords or not doesn't matter. If you
Was what
play
book
the
were you
extra,
using?
if you play
What
the
book?
extra stuff, doesn't matter if you play those or not. If you have the right sound, it's going to sound good. Go ahead, Barb.
What, I'm sorry, what book were you using there?
I think that was from what, 347? This I
Oh,
pulled out of the file drawer.
oh, okay.
And
All
somebody
right.
said 72, page 72. That's what it says on mine. So
Oh, I
You
just
had
looked for
one,
six. Did
Dawn,
you
you had
order?
123 on your paper.
I have what?
123?
No, that's B 1, 2, and 3. I had it
Oh,
set up in B Bank at one time for a concert.
okay, forget I said that.
I knew somebody was going to ask me about that.
Yeah, his
I had
eye.
it set up on D5 and 6 also, so I've used this several different times over the years.
That
Yeah.
was great. Do you have any of those books in the store or you have to order?
I don't know if I have those ones, but like I
Okay.
said, just email me and I'll make sure you get a copy.
Okay,
Not a problem. Not a
thank
problem.
you.
Fun song to play. Is it
Very fun.
hard? Yes, but that's because
It's
I'm going from top keyboard to bottom keyboard, and I have to know exactly where I'm going. So it takes a little bit of practice. And make sure that your fingers know where they're going, because otherwise you're going to stumble and you're going to go and then you're going to be lost. Even though it's going at only 115, it's all eighth notes. So you're really moving along.
Wow.
Yep. Okay, so the first part of the song I did on the Celeste bells. You really only need 2 presets, and I just put them one right after the other so I could just keep kicking. You could also just go back and forth between the one and the other because you want the Celeste bells on top. And I've got this all written out. Now I've got it written for one hand. Whoops. Knocking everything over here. I've got it written for just one hand. And I've got the little squiggly line going up, which means you're just going to roll from the bottom up. And you're going to use both hands. So doing exactly the same thing. And I will have this on Patreon so that you can see exactly what that is. And you're going to use the first preset for that. And then you go into those other bells, the pizzicato bells, for the second part. And then I use that second part in the middle of the song before going back to the second time. So you're really only using 2 presets, going back and forth between the 2.
Dawn,
Yes.
can you play the Celeste bells and then the pizzicato bells, just so I can hear the difference? It
Yes.
sounded all the same to me.
Did it? Okay.
Yeah.
You could actually just use one preset and do everything on the Celeste bells. That would work too.
That's Celeste, right?
That's the Celeste. Here's the pizzicato.
Oh,
You could actually play that part on the Celeste bells if you want.
yeah, the pizzicato's nice though.
Yeah, it just adds a little bit. And I played that an octave down here. And then octave up. And then back to the Celeste bells.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So just those 2 sounds and the bassoon on the bottom. Okay. That's the sound.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, now that's a little bit harder to put in. And again, it's because, oops, let's get on the right one. I bumped my foot. Then you got to get up here.
Yeah.
This phrase right here, that very first one, that took me forever to figure out how to make it smooth. Honest and truly, I don't know why. I had a stumbling block on that one. The rest of them are easy, but it makes it sound more authentic. Even if you decide not to play those, you'll be fine. You'll be good. All right, let's talk about extra chords. All right. The D minor chord is good for 3 counts. Beat 4 in that first measure over the E is a G minor, gorilla minor. Now, those of you who have already scanned copies to it says G minor 6. Just play G minor, otherwise it gets your hand out of position. So G and B flat is all you need. Over the C sharp in the next measure, put a C sharp diminished. C sharp diminished, which is C sharp and G. Now, if you want to play a C sharp diminished 7, feel free to do that. It's C sharp, E as in elephant, G as in gorilla, and B flat, flat butterflies. That's good for one note. Over the D, put a D diminished. If you want to play it the easy play method, it's D and A flat. 6 notes apart. If you want to play the D diminished 7, you may. It is D, F as in fish, A flat, flat alligators, and B butterfly. So whichever's easiest for you. And then over the very first C 8th note, beat 3, put a D dinosaur or a D7, C and D. Wow, that's a lot of chords already. Let's go to the next line. Over the B, the very first B, beat 1, put a G or a G7, gorilla 7. Beat 3, over the very first B flat, put a C sharp diminished, C sharp and G gorilla. Or you can play the C sharp diminished 7 if you wish. Next measure, over the A, D minor, dinosaur minor, for 1 count, not 1 note, but 1 count. Beat 2, over the B flat, put a G minor, and again, those of you who already have my copies, cross the 6 out, just get it out of there, just play the G minor. Beat 3, over the A quarter note, go back to the D minor, dinosaur minor, D and F. I'll do the extra blurby notes after we finish the chords. Next line, cross out the G minor and replace it with B flat, flat butterflies, for 2 counts. Beat 3, over the F quarter note, put in your G minor, or it can be a G minor 7, gorilla minor 7. Next measure, beat 1, over the B flat, put a D minor, dinosaur minor. Beat 3, instead of the E, cross it out, we are going to play an F diminished. F diminished, and I'm going to tell you why I'm playing an F diminished rather than a D diminished, but it actually, either one of them would work. F diminished is F and B. F and B butterfly. As if you're on a D minor, all you got to do is put down your thumb, lift up your pinky, or if you've got your 4th finger on it, your F is the pivot one. And it's just easier to do those 2 as a pair. Now, what's the difference between a D minor or a D diminished and an F diminished? Only the bass note. So if you wanted to do D minor and then a D diminished, you could do that as well, which would be D and A flat. Because if you take a look at all the notes, those are the notes in an F diminished 7 or a D diminished 7. They're all, diminished chords are so cool because there's 3 of them that are the same. Actually, there's 4 of them that are the same, which is pretty cool. All right, let's move on. The A minor is already printed. The E7 is already printed. The next measure, the A, is good for 1 count. Not 1 note, but 1 count. Beat 2, over the D 8th note, put in an E7, elephant 7. Beat 3 over the C sharp quarter note, put in an A. Plain old alligator. Let's go to the next page. Pretty much all repeats. The D minor is good for 3 counts. Beat 4 over the E quarter note, put in a G minor, G and B flat. Second measure over the C sharp, put a C sharp diminished or a C sharp diminished 7. C sharp diminished is C sharp and G, the letter plus 6. Over the D, beat 2, put a D diminished, which is D and A flat, or it can be a D diminished 7. Beat 3 over the C eighth note, put a D7, C and D. The next line, beat 1 over the very first B, put a G or G7. Beat 3 over the very first B flat, put a C sharp diminished or a C sharp diminished 7. Next measure, beat 1 over the A eighth note, D minor, dinosaur minor. Beat 2 over the B flat, G minor, gorilla minor. Beat 3 over the A quarter note, D minor, dinosaur minor. Next line, the E7 is good for 3 counts. Over the C sharp, beat 4, put an A alligator or a 7, G and A. The D7 is good for 3 counts. Beat 4 over the B quarter note, put a G, gorilla, or G7. Last line, the C is good for 3 counts. Beat 4 over the A quarter note, put a plain old F, fish. That's it. That's it. Lots of chord changes, I know. Now remember, if you don't learn them all, that's okay. Just pick out the ones that you like and play the ones you like. Or just play the ones that are there. As long as you have the right sound, the right bell sound, that's going to work. Okay, now let's go back
Dawn?
in and, yes,
Would you do line 1 of the first page again?
yes. Line 1 in the first page, D minor is good for 3 counts. Over beat 4, over the E, put a G minor, gorilla minor. The next measure, beat 1, over the C sharp, put a C sharp diminished, which is C sharp and G. Beat 2, over the D quarter note, put a D diminished, D and A flat. Beat 3, over the C eighth note, put a D dinosaur or D7. Anybody else?
I think I'm good.
Nope. Okay. You don't have to learn them all. You don't have to learn any of them. But try them because I think you might like them.
So the last C note on line 1 doesn't have anything changed.
Correct. Correct. There's 3.
Okay.
Yeah, there's only 3 chords in that measure. Beat 1, beat 2, beat 3.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Let's do the 16th notes that I added in. There are 5 of them, and you're just going to do, and you're going to end up actually doing some 3 fingers on some chromatic notes, which are going to be real tight. So be very careful. Be very careful that you can get them all. If you've got better fingering, please feel free to use it. Usually I like to cross over on those going to the black keys, but in this case it didn't work very well. So here's your notes. Line 2, second measure where you have the quarter rest in the 4th beat.
Mhm.
you are going to play on the lower keyboard, and I just wrote it right here in the same spot. D on the space below the staff, C on the first line below the staff, B flat on the second space below the staff, and A on the second line below the staff. And then your fifth note is actually the first beat of the next line. So instead of the rest, you're going to have an A flat on the second line below the staff. And then you're going to put stems on them and flags, but instead of one flag, you're going to put two flags. Let's see if I can get this up here. There it is.
I don't see it. Yep.
G. D, C, B flat, A.
D, C, B flat, A, and then the first line of the next, put an A flat in the first beat, low.
Yep.
Okay? That's a tough one to play.
Dawn, where did you change over to the lower keyboard on the second line?
Where do you change over? Right there on those notes that I just
Oh,
played.
just those. Okay.
Only those.
Right.
Those are the only time you go to the lower keyboard is if you are playing the notes that I'm adding.
Okay.
Otherwise, everything else is on the upper keyboard.
All right. Thank you.
Could you hold that up again, please?
Yes.
When somebody else talks, it goes to their picture.
Yep, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do mute all just until I get this up there. That way I'm the only one in the front here. Let's see. I'm trying to look at it too. There we go. And they're 16th notes, so they have double flags. D, C, B flat, A, and then in the next line, A flat low. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is how you play that. And you just got to be real careful that you can get those. And then you're going to pivot to that upper keyboard. It's a little tricky. All right,
So-
where's the next one I put in?
Excuse me,
Is-
Dawn.
Go ahead. Yes,
The-
Connie.
The A flat on the third line there, is that the lower or upper keyboard?
That's the lower keyboard still. That's the fifth note of your 5-note little blurb. D, C, B flat, A flat, A, B. D, C, B flat, A flat.
Thank you.
I suppose if you wanted to add it here in the margin over here, you could. It's just that it technically goes over here. If you wanted to put them all 5 in a row, you probably could. You could probably put all 5 of those in a row. Just know that that A flat's going to have to be in the margin because it is the first beat of that last line. All right, your next little blurb is going to be the last line of the first page. Last measure. Instead of the quarter rest, you're going to play 4 notes on that page and then another note. Same dealio, just different notes. Okay, so your notes are A on the second space, G on the second line, F on the first space, E on the first line. And then your last note that goes on the next page is D on the first space below the line. So you're actually playing A, G, F, E, D. That one's an easy one to play. You're just doing all white notes.
Is
So if I
that the
hold-
lower key?
That's lower keyboard, yes. A, G, F, E, they're all 16th notes. And then the top of the next page is a D. Now again, if you feel more comfortable writing all 5 of those in a row, you can put the D over here in the margin. A, G, F, E, D, and just know that it's the first beat of the next measure, if that makes it easier for you to see. Okay, One more of those, and that's on page 2. Second line, the end of the line where you have that quarter rest, you are going to have another 5 notes. 4 of them are going to be, whoops, and I forgot to write the stems in the, yeah, that's something that I would do. Got to have the stems and the double flags. Okay. Your notes are 5 white notes again. It's going to be real easy. F on the first space, E on the first line, D dinosaur on the first space below the line, C on the first line below the staff, and then the last one, which is actually in the rest of the next measure, is a B butterfly on the second space below the staff. So F, E, D, C, B. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yep. Yep. Okay.
Okay. Your hardest one is that first one because you have flats and they're right in a row. Okay. That's the hard one.
Gotcha.
Those are the only notes that you play on the lower keyboard. Everything else is on the top. So what if you don't have a lower keyboard? You skip them. Don't play them. Don't even worry about it. Yeah, this song can be as easy or as hard as you make it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a wonderful classic, and I think you'll just enjoy playing it. How are we doing on time? Oh, perfect. Perfect. Do you want me to play it one more time, or you want me to
Yeah.
just give you fingering?
Fingering.
Okay.
Fingering, please.
Dawn, I have a question.
Go ahead.
On the second page,
Mhm.
the last line,
Mhm.
you put an F in the first measure at the end,
Yes.
over
First
the A.
measure above the A.
That's what I did. Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
You got it.
Yep.
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 Okay, so if you don't need fingering, you guys can go to the beach, have a wonderful time. Oh, shoot, I don't know what we're doing next week.
Oh,
Huh. Wow. I don't even know if I have anything chosen for next week.
Surprise us.
Surprise!
Time.
Okay. All right,
Yeah,
I'll
do-
have to find something. I've been so busy today. Didn't even think about what we're going to do next week. We'll do something good.
Make it
Let us
book
know so we
111.
can find it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Pick anything out of book 211 or 215 or
111.
111.
Or
111.
215, right?
215.
Yeah, 215 is the one that most people have. Okay. I will do that. I won't pick something so obscure. I just thought this one was nice and different
I got
Yep.
111.
and gives you guys a challenge.
Yep.
All right. Those of you who need fingering, stick around. The rest of you, thank you so much for coming. I couldn't do it without you. We'll see you either Wednesday or next week. You guys are awesome.
Thank you
Thank
much.
you.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
Welcome. The rest of you, get out your pencils. You still have work to do. F5, D3, F5, E4, C#2, D3, C1, C1, C1. B3, circle it. That is a crossover. B3, B3, B3. B flat 2, B flat 2, B flat 2. A1. D4, B flat 2, D4, A1. Your little blurb is just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
Let's go to the third line. F3, D1, F3, G1, B flat 3, A1. Okay, that's a kind of a rough passage. If you can have better fingering than that, please feel free to do so, but that worked out the best for me because you're kind of climbing a ladder up the keyboard. And so you need to have the rest of those fingers free to reach. The high Fs are all 5s. Last line on that page, E4, 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 D3, 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 C sharp 2, E4, D3, E4. C sharp 2, again, your little blurb is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, right down the line. Second page, F5, D3, F5, E4. C sharp 2, D3, C1, C1, C1. B3, circle it. That is a crossover. B3, B3, B3. B flat 2, B flat 2, B flat 2. A1, D4, B flat 2, D4, A1. Your little blurb, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, right down the line. Let's go to the third line, D4, B2, D4, C sharp 3. Check mark. C3, A1, C3, B2. Check mark. B flat 3, G1, B flat 3, A2. First ending A2, D5. Second ending, same thing, A2, D5. And as soon as I played that last D minor chord and note, I touched the stop button. I did not play an ending. If you guys want to play the ending, please feel free. I just think this one works better to just stop it. Any questions? I hope you guys have fun with this one. And Gene McDonald actually did a fabulous job on this. He played this on Saturday. Thank you, Gene. It was excellent.
You're welcome.
The extra notes, did you use the extra notes? I don't remember.
No.
No? Okay.
See, if you don't remember, that tells you how important they aren't.
Well, you did a great job.
He did.
Whichever way.
And again, the most important thing is to have that sound. Once you have the sound, you're there. Yep.
So the only time you went to the lower keyboard is for these lower notes, these extra notes?
That's it.
That was it.
That's it. Those are the only time.
Okay, thank
Everything
you.
else is on that upper keyboard. So if you wanted to skip those completely, or that could be the last thing that you throw in, because it's hard. It's kind of hard to go from one keyboard to the other and be right there.
Yeah.
You kind of have to hold that last note and kind of pivot and hold that note as long as you can on the bottom so it doesn't sound like da-da-da-da-da.
Great.
Yeah. So that's where it gets a little tricky.
Daun, could you tell us again how you got to the bassoon on the bottom?
Yes. If you've got one of the A organs, meaning like a Sterling or a Symphony or a Patriot or a Liberty, okay, or Prestige, Prestige Plus, you have all of these reds and blues. What you're looking for is going to a lower orchestral, and on the Celeste bells, the lower orchestral is not being used. You are using an upper orchestral. So what you want to do is you want to hit the lower or hit a different orchestral.
Okay.
And scroll until you get to the B's and get to bassoon. Now how do you make sure it goes to the lower? Then you have to touch orchestral 1, then you have to touch orchestral 2 second so that the 1 is solid and the 2 is blinky. You also have to have on 2 commands, upper on and lower right. You have to have both those commands on so that the solid one goes up. You don't want to mess your bells up. Don't want to mess those up. And then your blinky one, which is the bassoon that you just put in, is going to the lower right. Now, with the marquee, the grand marquee, the Inspire, the Rialto, the Aria. It's so much easier because you have sound, sound for orchestral, sound, sound for solo. So go to the orchestrals. And I'm telling you that because you're going so fast that with the solos, you don't get the full effect with the solo sounds going that fast on a run. So it works much better on an orchestral. Find an orchestral, you have 2 of them, that's not being used. Tell it to go to the lower right, touch it, and scroll to a bassoon. Or find the number of the bassoon and put it in. What do I mean by that? Well, if you see that when you pull up bassoon, it says sound number 258. I'm telling you what it is right now. It makes it easier. Why is that easier? Because now I am going to go to my keypad and I'm going to go to the numbers. And what did I just say it was? 258?
Yeah.
2, 5, 8. And it shows up in your window. But now, here it is, I have to put it someplace. So I'm going to put it in either the Orchestral Genius or the sound that I want it to go in. Just touch it. Touch! And there it is.
Oh,
Okay.
It's very easy. And then you have to make sure, again, if you're on an A organ, you have to make sure that go back in, turn your bells on first, then touch the bassoon second, so that your bells are going to the upper keyboard and it's a solid color, and your bassoon is going to the lower keyboard and it's a blinky light.
Hmm.
It gets a little dicey, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. And it's the same on all of the A organs. And the E organs, you guys got it easy. Good question. Any other questions?
nope, that's it. Hey,
Fun song. It's a good song to work on.
I like it. It's pretty gorgeous.
And yeah, if you love bells, this is the best song you can play with bells, really and truly.
Wonderful.
Yep. Yeah, I'll pick something for next week. Wow. If you need to, I'll try to pick one out of book 215. If you need to know in advance, just email me and I'll tell you what it is. But I haven't picked it yet. I'll
Jingle
go do
Bell
that right
Rock.
now. I'll go do that right now.
Dawn, Jingle Bell Rock.
Jingle Bell Rock, you want to do it? Any questions from
Yeah.
anybody else? You want to do it? Let's do it. Okay, Jingle Bell Rock it shall be.
Okay.
All right? All right. Let
Yep.
me write that one down. Jingle Bell Rock. Thank you, Jean. Good suggestion.
All right. All right.
And I know we've already done that in our morning class here at the store, but it never hurts to go over it and do it again. All right.
Yep.
Good suggestion. Those people who left early, too bad for them. No.
Thank you.
You guys are
That's right.
awesome. Thank you so
Hang
much.
To the death. Dawn, can I email you? for
Yes.
the, and then I'll be glad to come in and get a book if you got one.
I don't think I have any of them here that have that in. I'll
No,
check
I
and
meant
see.
for today's.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think I have any of those in. I'll check and see, but
Okay.
I don't think I do.
Okay.
But
All right.
I'll send you this and I'll go look for the books and see if we have it. But like I
Okay.
said, I have all these handouts in a file drawer, so I
Now,
don't even.
but you said book
look at the books.
11 or 211?
11.
11.
Somebody
right.
said book
11.
11. Yeah.
Yeah. 11, 400 or 346. Okay.
Mhm.
I don't have them. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Can't do it
Thank-
without you.
Thank you.